Hi, everybody. It's me again with two more individuals that train with Joe Bradley who are in the trance aspect of their journey. And I've got Piers Cantwell from Dublin, Ireland, and I've
I
got
don't know what that means. If you
and then
like, I can search the web for.
and I've got Sandra Green here from the UK. And both are being mentored by Joe Bradley, and both are in different aspects of their path as they progress in their trance. So, Sandra, let's start with you. Let's kind of go over like how you met Joe Bradley, how are you progressing, and like what you think as far as your trance journey, how are you progressing in that aspect?
Well, it's interesting that you ask how I met Jo. I met her through two different ways, but Spirit directed me to contact Jo. So that's how I first found out about Jo, because I was directed by Spirit. And then there's somebody else that I know I found out later, who's also a professional working medium, who is also now working with Jo. So it's from two different places. Yeah.
Pierce, you started your mentorship with Joe, working in trance. How has your journey been? I mean, how are you progressing?
Fantastic. Really, I think, meeting Joe it was really a game changer. It happened quite quickly. But in regards to the training's going fantastic. I couldn't be happier with the work me and Joe are doing, and teaching that Joe's given.
Yeah, yeah. And you've both been to Hope Spiritual Center for her workshops. We've all met there, which was really exciting. And you're Sandra, when you say your spirit, people don't understand, when you say spirit, they think of, like this angel flying around.
No, it's so I do work professionally, with my spirit guides, and it was somebody that had passed over really that had contacted me and told me to get in touch with Jo for the next level of my own development, and going down to the Hope Centre. I just absolutely loved it. I recommend. So although I work with Jo now online on a
Yeah,
weekly, twice a week, once with the group and once one-to-one.
yeah.
There's nothing more powerful than being in a room full of mediums and you've got all that energy to work with. So being in that center is mind-blowing and beautiful experience, that I would recommend 1,000% to anybody on their spiritual path and journey. A very welcoming place to go, which was lovely, because unfortunately on this spiritual journey there's a lot of not so nice people. So it was nice to meet somebody that was really nice and really welcoming and wanting to encourage you and wanting the best from you. It was just a lovely experience, and I hope to continue that for a long time, because I believe that learning spiritual work is something that you develop your entire life. You don't just learn it and you're done. You always continue to grow and develop. And then you gain that more experience from other people who've got more experience than yourself. It's a lifelong journey.
Right, right. And having having this circle that we sat in, you actually pulling the energy from each person, each medium. And so it's a whole different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really powerful. Face to face with other mediums is really powerful. And the guides and spirit use that energy from everybody else in order to make it a more powerful experience, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Here's when you first sat in circle. How did you feel like actually being in person with everybody and drawing off of everybody? And then, we're all mediums, and so we're all in different places. We're still growing. What was your experience like?
I mean, I can back everything Sandra said. It was my first time in Hope, and it's such a magic place. It really is. The building, the people in it. My first experience it blew me away. It really blew me away. Down to sitting, the people there. I mean, it's just such a fantastic place to meet like-minded people. You're safe, you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And then when it came to sitting, and putting the work in it was mind blowing. It really was. It's like it's a safe place for the sit-in, but it's also safe for spirit, and
Yeah.
it's really felt, you know, spirit are there, and it's safe for them to walk and
Right.
do what they need to do. But it was fantastic. It was fantastic. What was seen, felt, and heard was just
Yeah.
it opened a big world, you know, that I wasn't aware of 2 years ago, you know.
Yeah.
So really just a fantastic place.
And
I agree with what Pia said, and I find that really interesting when you say it's a welcoming place for spirits. You know, my spirit guides know who Joe is. You know, they know, you know, when I'm connecting with Joe that they've come to practice, you know, whatever, you know, and it's just so different what I do on my own and what I do with Joe. The guides know who Joe is, you know, they're
Yeah.
very disciplined. She's helping me with the discipline. The guides are all for it, you know, it's
Yeah.
just a really interesting connection.
and
Yeah.
you have more
Yeah.
than one guide. You have a couple, don't you? That you
Yeah,
work with?
I've got a number of guides. I mainly work with Morris, who I've been working with for about 5 years. But
Okay.
since I've met Joe, I've only just recently realised that although there's a different guide now working, I don't know who it is, that's my trance guide. I don't know who that is yet, but he's teaching the discipline to the other guides. But I noticed that when Morris comes through, it's not just Morris. There's like a gang of guys, like they're all trying to come in. So I'll speak to Joe about that when I meet her this week. I've been trying to figure out what is going on, and that's what it is. There's more than one guide coming in. But I guess they're here for learning, aren't they? Like the rest of us, you know. So it's going to be really interesting for me, you know, having worked so closely with one guide, and anybody will know when you get really close friends with your guide, you don't want to lose that connection, you know. Like me and my guide, he's like my best friend, you know.
Yeah.
But I've got other best friends there in the group that also need to come forward, you know, with whatever they're going to bring to the table. So, you know, I'm sure within time they'll all be coming forward to do something else. So, yeah, it's interesting.
When you say you've been working for 4 years, tell everybody, explain what it is that you do and how you came about doing that.
I'm not sure that's something really for Joe's program, you know, for what she's doing here. I do something called spirit release work, and I do that with a spirit guide called Morris, and I've been doing that since 2018. So I do that when I'm in trance. But I'm learning with Joe to
Right.
develop a deeper. I'm learning with Joe to develop a deeper level of trance, and I also do readings with a spirit guide. You know, so you connect with my guide, and we do readings, general
Right.
readings with loved ones or whatever else, you know, the guides bring to the table.
Haven't you done a couple of workshops with Joe at Hope Spiritual, or was it just the one? Where
I've done two now. So the first one I did was a physical where I met Pierce. Was it? Oh no, it wasn't the physical then. That was the trance one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the first one was the physical one, which was just mind blowing. I was to go sit downstairs, you know, in the dark, which is my bag, and work with the energy, you know, and to see the energy come alive. It was fascinating, you know, with table tilting and, you know, moving the trumpet. It was so powerful, you know, and to experience Joe do her own work down there,
Yeah.
you know. So Joe was able to bring through a friend of mine who recently passed as well. Had only recently passed. She came through with some evidence. So it was just the physical mediumship, the 3 day intense was totally and utterly mind blowing experience. Totally and utterly mind blowing. I loved it. But what I loved as well, so when you're in that room, it's teaching your guides how to connect and how to work together
Right.
the best way for you. You know, so all your team are there and everyone else's team of guys. It was fascinating. It was totally mind blowing experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I expected. It was 1,000 times better than anything I expected. So therefore, I went back not long after that to do the trance weekend, which again was amazing, mind blowing, just wonderful to be with other people, you know, on the same journey.
Right, right. And Pierce, when you were there, wasn't it the first time when we tried the physical trance and we were in that darkness? Total darkness, as I remember. And was that your first time of bringing through physical evidence that of spirit?
Absolutely, yeah, that was the first time. So, I mean, sitting in the room so dark was a new aspect for me. Never mind sitting in the closet. But oh my God, it was just, yeah.
You might have to explain that, sitting in the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't
So
sound right. Wearing in the
yeah,
closet.
true. So downstairs in the basement, as you both know, so a closet would be like a curtained off corner of the room, where the medium would sit and go into trance and physical trance then, and then the sitters would sit around. Phenomena could start. There's chances it might not, but there's chances it might. And in our case, it did, which was fantastic. It was fantastic to witness, I think, and then for you to sit in that closet then. So you kind of got both sides of it. But yeah, apart from the coldness, it was amazing.
Yeah. We could see
Yeah.
evidence of one time we felt somebody that was stepping on our feet, like we're I don't know if you remember that. Joe was saying, "Oh, I could feel somebody on my feet," and then we could see all kinds of stuff like happening in the air above us. Couldn't we?
The first time I went, I could see somebody's hand growing as the guide had gone into the hand was growing. It was amazing. There's so much you can see down there. It's really cool. And Chrissy, I remember you brought more evidence than anybody else in the room. And you can see, you can see colours, can't you? You can see sparkly things. That's your guides and their energy working with you. Or, when I was there on that other weekend, I could actually see animals in the room, dogs and things like that,
Amazing.
It's just amazing. Spirits animals, of course, coming down and coming through to see. There was spirit walking around the room, other guides walking around the room.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. And that table tilting on the first weekend
Oh yeah.
was so powerful.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was amazing. I've never done that before. It was brilliant. It really was.
Oh, neither
An
have I.
experience.
It was, yeah. And I can remember, it was really funny because when Joe brought through your friend that just passed and we were at the very end of it, her head was down. Remember that? Her head was, she's like, how come I always end up with my face in a table? And I thought that was really kind of, okay, well, this is my first time. I don't know why. But when Fred came through, he was really, her voice just changed to this, do you remember that? How her voice just totally changed as if it wasn't her anymore, but it was actually her spirit guide that came through. And then others came through. But I want to ask you, Pierce.
And I it's as we were speaking about, it's a process. It really is a process. Now, since I've started to where I am now, it has gotten a lot stronger. Couldn't be more aware of him. He's very present. He's very eager.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. So it's just a matter of me doing my part and them doing their part. And I think that's what's very exciting about Hope. It's exciting for our guides because for them, they have the energy, they have the space, it's safe. And with Joe mentoring and it's the right time, the right place, and that adds to the center. So
I think the circle was the most, for me, it was my first time. And I think everybody was kind of at a different level as far as the spirit guides go. And I think, Sandra, you were sort of like the more advanced, I think, of us all, because you, you brought through Morris, which was, he was hilarious, I have to say, because it was just this different person. Your face changed. It was really fantastic to see, that depth of spirit blending with you. But y'all feel safe, right? We all felt like we were in a safe space.
Yeah, and everybody's equal, the spirit guys will say, we're all one on this path of learning, so that's the biggest problem you come across with some people when they're working spiritually. If they think somebody's better than them, they sometimes hold themselves back. It's not a competition.
Right.
You do your thing, I do mine. We're all on a different level at
Right.
this point. Well, it doesn't matter, it's immaterial. You know, I've loved being with other people and watching them develop. Pierce, you, it's just amazing to see your guide coming in that face. Look, Pierce's face. You know, it was just, you could see him desperate to come through. It was fascinating. It's such a wonderful experience to be with like-minded people
Yeah,
and for people to be friendly, and it's okay to just do what you need to do,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah,
No competition. It was lovely. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I remember
absolutely.
Pierce's when Pierce was in trance. I remember the change on your face, you know, and you went into it. You went into it so deep. It was just amazing. And I think that was the first time your spirit guide actually spoke, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that's right, Chris. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think, the first day we got there, I was just really aware of the energy,
Yeah.
how big the energy was. I think we first sat, and it was my first time because I had been sitting with Joe on Zoom, which has been fantastic. But to be physically there, yourselves,
Yeah.
everybody's energy is there, and you can really, really feel your guide. And I think for him, it was like, wow, okay, I
Yeah.
can really push through here just that little bit more.
Yeah.
And yeah, he he was very eager. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Sandra, how do you know when your spirit guide is talking to you? I mean, do they whisper in your ear, or do you hear it in your head, or how do you know that they're speaking to you? How do you make the
I
difference?
guess it'll be different for everybody, you know, and depends on the depth of your connection with your guys. So, you know, once I'd made that connection with Maurice, I know now that Maurice is always with me, and I remember Maurice from years ago, which I didn't at the time, because you have experiences in life that take you off your spiritual path. You know, you have relationships, you get family, you get jobs, and all of those things. And then when Maurice did come through, it's a bit of an experience like yours, Pierce. It happened instantly. Somebody
Mm.
said, "Who's your guide?" And he was so excited. Out he came, and I was totally mind blown because I didn't know that that would happen. You know, wasn't expecting that to happen. Hadn't planned for that to happen. You know. So anyway, once Maurice did come through, then I talked to him all the time, and it's really hard to explain. It's more of a just knowing. You know,
Mm.
just a knowing of things. You know, like he'll make me. I just laugh sometimes and I know it's Maurice, you know, they bring your attention to things, you know, they might show you an image or music will come on the radio as Maurice will show him. I mean, I've seen him in my third eye, obviously,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the time, and they'll come when you're sleeping, pass messages that way. It depends where you are on your connection with them, how they are going to connect. Some people are visual and very visual. Some people, you know, are clairaudience and they'll hear, you know, so it totally depends how you're going to work spiritually, I guess, and the connection that you have with your guides and the way that your guide's going to work with you. So if, for example, your guide was going to do healing, then the chances are you're more likely to feel that energy coming through, you know, when you do the work.
Yeah.
It's just a knowing, you know, it's just a
Yeah.
knowing, you know, when it's your guide, you know,
Yeah.
there's no denying when it's your guide. Yeah.
Yeah. It appears how do you know it's your guide? I mean, how do you discern between, okay, it's my brain talking to my brain or it's my guide talking to me? How did you get to that point where you sort of knew it was your guide?
Well, like Sandra was saying, my basis is knowing. It would be knowing. I can't explain that. It's a feeling. It's a knowing. My guide has a very eager energy. Is the best way I can put it. He comes in quite strong, quite quick. So I can rest assured in that. You know, I don't need to think, is this me? Is what's going on? I know I'm very comfortable with that now, you know, and as things are progressing, he's coming in stronger. I've been doing some trance healing,
Yeah.
and my main trance guide will come in first, and then he allows my healing guide to come in. And I wasn't aware of that at the start, but I've come to kind of differentiate the two energies.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot for me would just be that knowing. It's that quite strong, eager energy. I know, okay, this is my main guide here.
So you pretty much have a couple of guides, right, around you.
Yes, yeah, I would, Chris. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I wouldn't be very aware of all of them at the moment. I know for a fact I would have a main guide and a healer. And that's fine. That's just where I am in my journey at the moment.
I
think that
know.
so
Go ahead.
just with Pierce, with you saying just the knowing, just the point is, before you connected, you didn't know, did you? That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah,
Before you'd
100%.
met your guide, you never would have felt that feeling. Never. Once
No.
you meet your guide, for me, there's no going back. You know, it changes. Once that guide connection's there, it changes for life. You'd never go back. And
That's
as
it,
Pierce
Sandra.
says, now I've met my trance control, which I had not met before. So that's what I do now when I work. I ask the trance control which guide is to come forward to work with me, you know, and a different guide might come in, you know. So yeah, same as Pierce. Interesting.
I was telling Joe, I actually, well, I think mine is from the UK because I keep hearing Cheeky Fred and I keep hearing like bloody, let's get on with it, you know, and oh, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm trying over here, you know what I'm saying? But then another one came in and I actually think it's a nun. So, I mean, I'm just feeling, you know, this different energy, you know, like it is different
Yeah.
energy, isn't it, that
Well,
comes
as
in?
Joe would say, if you're trans medium, you're going to have a team of guides, you know. So I'm fully aware of my team. I know all of the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've got a nun as well, who I've had all my life, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's truly, truly interesting. We're all going back to the Hope Spiritual Center, right? We're going to do the physical medium.
I'm not on this one, but I will definitely go back. I just couldn't commit so late on in the year because I've got other things going on at home.
Right.
But I will definitely be back to the Hope Centre. I hope to make it a yearly retreat for myself on. She's got some amazing courses going on, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that when people work spiritually, especially when you're working with the likes of trance and physical energy, I think everybody should go on angels and demons,
Yeah.
you know, because people assume they're working with the light or for the light. And some people, it couldn't be further from the truth, you know, and that's often ego, you know, people get this big ego and they believe everything they see and hear, you know. So I think angels and demons is something everybody should go on really, and really understand the energy that you're working with, you know.
I took the dark side, just the dark side one. I don't know, Pierce, did you take an extra course?
No, not at the moment.
That was
no.
truly enlightening.
I think that's the one, yeah.
You're right, you know, Sandra, it's like there is two sides here. There's the light side and then there's the dark side. You have to be aware, you know, of what is the dark side. You know, I don't know if you've ever run across anything like that. Have you?
Yeah, that's what I work with, yeah. Spirit release, that's what we do. But I'm not here to talk about that. But yeah, there is a lot of dark and dangerous energy out there that people need to be mindful of when they're working spiritually.
When I know Joe does, I believe she does spiritual release. Do you work with her on that? Do you?
No, me and Joe do two separate things. I do something remote. I call remote spirit release. So I'm trained very differently. I do something completely different to Joe.
Pierce, are you excited to go on with your training and develop more your gift?
Absolutely. I really am, you know, it's life has completely changed in the most amazing ways. I never even thought possible, you know. And that's with the thanks of the training with Joe and the Hope Centre. It's something to really look forward to, and yeah, it's absolutely. I just a part of you can be like, I want to know everything. I want to know it all. Show me it all. But it's just, you know, week by week.
It's hard to explain, isn't it, Piers? But once you meet your guides, life is never the same again.
No,
it just isn't. You know, because they are there to support you and guide you within your life's journey and path. You know, once you make that and understand that connection, because they're always there, but once you have that connection, fully understand that, it's just mind blowing. Your life changes completely.
It does.
And with the trance control, when I met Joe and he got that trance control, I can't work the way I did before. I physically can't. You know, I've come to a bit of a standstill while I'm learning other ways now with this trance control. You know, and it's just amazing how much the guides do that you're not aware of, and it's only as you start, the more you learn, the more you understand. That you start to put the dots together, don't you? But
Yeah,
it's just a life-changing experience connecting with spirit
it really
guides.
is. It
Life-changing.
really is.
Pierce, when did you first notice that you had a spirit guide? What made you seek out more? I mean, how did you know that you had a spirit guide? I mean, did you just know and you decided like, okay, I'm gonna find somebody to help me, or how did that transpire for you?
Well, long story short, I had a trance reading done by the fantastic Elaine Thorpe and her guide Jonathan. It was my first time even witnessing trance. I didn't know an awful lot about trance. And I had a reading with Elaine and Jonathan. Jonathan was able to relay onto me there's trance gifts there. And then I had a chat with Elaine after the reading. She says, look, it's a fantastic lady, Jo Bradley. I'll give you her details.
Yeah.
Give her a message. And Chris, it kind of really started from there. I wasn't kind of really aware of much. I had seen mediums kind of throughout my life, and it was a reoccurring thing. There's a gift there. You're going to be doing this work. It didn't pay an awful lot of attention. I was quite young. I was a lot younger. Kind of had to get the teenage years out of the way. And then coming into my 30s, then with that reading with Elaine, it kind of sparked off, Chris.
Yeah.
I met Jo, and it just happened from there. It really, I wasn't aware of it. With the fantastic work me and Jo are doing, it's just blossoming organically, naturally, the way it really, really should be.
Yeah. How about you, Sandra? Since you have several guides, did you always have like this knowing, like were you at one point not knowing and then all of a sudden you knew, how did
There's
that
been
work?
a lot. I mean, I've had a lot of phases in my life, as we all have. I never knew that I would be doing trance work. Now I know what trance is. I've had a lot of experience of trance within my life. I didn't know it was trance. I didn't really know a lot about trance. I knew what it was, but I didn't really pay much attention to that line of work. I was more interested in, just the mediumship on its own. And I had a number of experiences with guides trying to come through me, to the point where I thought that I had attachments. And that's one of the reasons why I was so interested in learning all about attachments, not knowing that they were my guides. So, the more you know, the more stupid you realise you've been over the years. It's really interesting. But I've had many experiences where my voice has changed, my face has changed. I didn't know what that was. And people saying, pack it in, you're frightening me. And I'm like, I can't help it. I don't know. I had no idea. And it was years later.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Piers, I had a reading with Elaine, and she had said a number of things that I won't say now, but she had said a number of things that are all making sense now, about the guide and all of that. I remember speaking to Elaine thinking, no, there's no way, and then a few years later, it just started to develop in that way. And there is no going back. And I think a trance experience to me is very different to any other type of spiritual working. I've done many things, in my lifetime. This is a very different. You are clearly guided, on your path, more so than other areas of work, is my belief. Once you're working so closely with your guides like this, and when you understand it's not you doing the work, it's your guides doing the work through your energy, you are being guided, and you just trust that guidance. And the power of the love that comes through with the spirit guides, you will never feel or experience anywhere else, as long as you.
And you're able to help people, aren't you?
That's what it's all about. It's all about. I mean, mediumship is about evidencing life after death. Of course, that's the main purpose of mediumship. But it's about helping people, through suffering, and life in general is hard, isn't it? Life is hard for people. People suffer in many, many ways. And if we can bring that sense of, joy, freedom, love, or whatever it is they need, healing, through, then you've done your job, haven't you? That's what we're here to do. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Pierce, have you been able to work with anybody to help them? I mean, are you able at that point yet where you feel comfortable enough, where you can tell, where you can get to that point and be sort of like in a trance and help them as well? Or, are you still on your journey? Do you think that, like where do you think you are?
Well, I would say, Chris, I wouldn't be at that point yet, in a sense, to sit for people in trance. I have done a couple of trance healings. Um, that would be me physically sitting in front of someone, which have gone great. I'm very happy with.
Yeah.
But I think where me and my guide are now at the moment, is we're still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
That connection, the blend is really strengthening. I'm in no rush, Chris. I want this to be as organic as possible. When the time is right, I think I'll be very aware. But for now, it's working with Joe, working with my guides, and I'm very comfortable with that.
And
And
it's
I
a
totally
journey.
agree, there's no rush.
Yeah.
There's no rush, in anything that we do, In
Yeah.
some ways, I kind of feel like I'm back at the beginning again, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. The trance controllers come in, which would have been wiser to know that first time round, but I didn't because it just happened the way it did. There is no rush. We do what is required for us. I believe we're all on the path for a reason. And Piers,
Yeah.
I believe that you will be helping people currently, but you just won't be aware of it because your guys will be working with you, even though you're not fully aware of that. So
Okay.
you'll be talking to people, connecting with people, and healing people without being fully aware of what you're doing. As you move along your path and you
Yeah.
go and then work differently, you will be helping people already because you obviously have been chosen by a guide to do this work before now.
No,
Thanks,
that's
Sandra.
amazing.
Yeah.
Sandra, it's a long road, isn't it? I mean, people just don't develop this overnight, do they?
It's a lifetime path, it's a lifetime path, and it's just once you have that connection, it's such a lovely journey that none of it matters, because with your spiritual work, it comes in peaks and troughs. You have really strong peaks, and then you have troughs. And I've learned over the years that those times when you're in that trough, you need to relax and rest. And we have normal things to do. You still got bills to pay and housework to do and all of those things. And there's things happening in life, So yeah, it's a lifelong learning, I believe. And if you're going to be a master of anything, to me, to become a master, that's what your spirit guides are, isn't it? They're training to be masters.
Right.
So I won't be a master in this lifetime. I'm think that I'll go on, hopefully, to be a guide of my own and eventually become a master. It's a long process, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it? It'd be boring if you knew all the answers today,
Right.
And I think
Pierce,
it's the
you're ready for
journey.
that journey, aren't you? You're
Yeah.
very
100%, Chris. Yeah, I think what's really evident for me is it's never really the destination. It's the journey that's important. I think, like the light and dark side of spirit, you do need your ups and downs with your development. I think you have to understand all aspects, either sides of it all. So I think it's very important to be patient with the journey.
But they say, don't they, the main point of the journey, isn't it, of life is getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been a lifetime. I'm still getting to know me. The more I work with spirits and the more advanced I become, the more I know me. And that's my main purpose. Who am I? I've always been the same. Who am I? What's my job? I'm still not there yet, and that's okay. I've met Joe, which is a wonderful experience, and it's a part of the journey that I needed. So, I'm just so grateful to be where I am today and to see where that will then lead me to next,
I think working with Joe, she's so real. It's almost like when you're working with her, you kind of know, I don't know if you guys get this feeling that she knows that she sees things and probably talks to our guides while we're bringing our guides through. It's just like this feeling that I have when I'm with her. And it's almost like she can tell, like if you're faking or not, you know what I'm saying? Like if they're really there. So it's kind of like a knowing. Do you guys feel like that? She's so upfront.
Yeah. And the guy, I love that about Jo. She's very honest. She's very straight, I like the no nonsense, you know. I do the
Yeah.
one-to-one with her. You come in, you do your work, and then you finish, you know.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time waffling about stuff that's not relevant. So come in
Yeah.
and do the breath work, bring the guide in. That's what I want to do. So yeah, I love that she's approachable. She's, you know, like when you go to the Hope Centre, it's like going home, isn't it? It just
Yeah.
feels wonderful. You
Yeah.
know, it just feels absolutely wonderful
Yeah.
in there. And that's not me. I'm a bit of a solitary person, bit of a loner. And I didn't feel awkward in any way. And if I wanted to go and sit on my own, it was okay. There was no pressure to be with a group of
Yeah.
people, you know. It
Right.
just felt lovely. You know, the
Yeah.
room, the experience was just a great experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a part of you stays there, doesn't it?
definitely. Yeah,
A part
Sort
you
of like,
stays
yeah,
there.
yeah. It's a beautiful place. It really
It
is.
really is.
I'd love to go back, and I will definitely go back
very
when I can.
calming, very calming
Mhm.
place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. Just lovely.
It is a home away from home. It really, like, I
Yeah.
think it's the best
Mm,
way to put it.
yeah.
Well, it was really great to get your view about your journeys. And I'm really happy to hear that you're both progressing so well. Sandra, I'm so glad that you got to meet your trance guide, because I remembered like you only thought that Morris was coming through. Am I right or wrong about that?
I've got 7 guides that I'm aware of, so I know there's more than one guide. You know, there's more than Morris. Morris is the main guide that I work with. So no, I didn't think it was just Morris, and I didn't think it was just Morris when we were there. There was somebody else who is still coming through now, who I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to meet my trance guide, because I don't know who the trance guide is,
Yeah.
and people are asking, you know, who we're speaking to. The guide keeps saying, you don't need to know, it's not relevant at the moment, you know, and I'm happy with that.
Mm.
I've got no pressure, I'm not concerned, not worried at all, you know. I trust Joe completely, I trust the guides completely, you know, and whoever this trance guide is, he's here to. So Morris is now being trained as well. He's having some lessons, you know, with the trance guide, as the other guides are having lessons with this trance guide. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a trans control. That I did not know there was a trans control, and I'm really grateful for that, because that will bring that deeper understanding that I was looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe, I mean, Pierce, your experience with Joe, how, talk about that. Talk about your experience with her and working with her.
I mean, just from the get-go, just from the get-go with Joe, really, it's you get to understand Joe doesn't work with ego. She's genuine. She'll tell you as it is. And she cares for, she cares for who she's working with.
Yeah.
She wants the best from you.
Right.
Joe's a pure soul. That's extremely knowledged. And I think that allows you to relax.
Yeah.
As Sandra was saying, you'll do your session with Joe and she doesn't need to go on. That's it. See you
Right.
next time, very accommodating and just super supportive for where you are in your journey. I mean, she's so knowledgeable. She's aware of where you are and what's needed at
Yeah.
that time,
Yeah.
no, it's just been fantastic. She's amazing.
Yeah. I have to agree with both of you. She is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I found her,
Oh
because
yeah.
you run across so many people and they say they know what they're doing, but working with Joe, I know that they don't.
Yeah, you can see the difference,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I want to thank you both for agreeing to do this interview. I just wanted to share with everybody, your journey. People sometimes think it's so easy. They think they know who they're being trained by is, like you can really trust them. But I wanted people to get your experience, working with Joe and the Hope Spiritual Center. And I'm really appreciative of you taking the time. So
Well, thank you.
we'll talk with
Thanks,
you
Chris. It's been
later.
an honor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it.